was invited to the JFK assassination conference by Judith Very Baker, who was, I know you interviewed her last year, and she was the mistress of Lee Harvey Oswald, as well as one of the people recruited by the CIA in a secret mission to creating a bioweapon against Fidel Castro. So for her and for me to become very close to Judith and being invited to this conference that this is an assassination that I've looked into for 30 odd years of my life, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. And I'm so grateful for anyone that has helped getting me there. I know there was people were collecting money last time I was here, and I have been criticized for having like a GoFundMe campaign to get there. But the thing is, even if you're invited to a conference, the only thing that is paid for is the flights and accommodation. And I was given like $100, but $100 in the US, it's like a cup of coffee and a biscuit, and boom, that's it. So for me, it was an incredible experience to be there. It was number one on my bucket list to get to Dealey Plaza, which is bizarre because we're looking at the slaughter of an incredible human being that was blown to pieces in a very, very cowardly ambush with multiple shooters. Awful when you look at it. At the same time, for someone like me who's put so much effort into trying to find out what actually happened, it's mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. And I said to my sweetheart who was with me, I said, back off, go away, leave me alone. I will crawl around on the pavement, I will check out angles, I will stand in the middle of the street checking out things I'll just leave me, because I will behave very strangely. But this is my time, and I really want to do the best of it. So I went everywhere, I checked all the different positions of the shooters, the angles, the safe houses. I found safe houses that wasn't known. I went to the boarding house where Lee was living. There's also a CIA safe house right behind it that most people don't know. Also, 1028 or 26 North Beckley Road, where this rooming house was. I spoke to the lady who is now taking care of it, she was just a child when this whole thing happened. And one of the things she told me was that this villa actually has 12 or 18 rooms. There's an additional basement with lots of rooms in it, which would make it a perfect thing as a safe house. Even though this very nice lady, she totally denied that was how it was used. I would still say that she was only a child when it happened. It was her grandmother who was the owner of the house. And as a child, not sure that she would know everything about what was going on. Jim Morris was one of the people who pointed out, and Tosh Plumley, about this safe house in the background. There's two different buildings. And Jim Morris, I had the incredible pleasure of meeting as well. Jim Morris, that has now left us, unfortunately. Beautiful human being. I was just blown away when I sat down, and the guy next to me, Jim Morris, it was like a dream come true. I also met Beverly Oliver, the so-called babushka lady that was standing right next to the limo at the motorcade when it passed and the shots were fired. She sat next to me on that side. So I was sort of like, I just can't believe it. And she brought her shoes that she had that day, where on it, on one of the soles, was still the yellow color because they had marked the whole killing area on the side, the stones on the pavement. It was all marked in yellow, the area where shots could be fired. It was so cold and so brutal, and without knowing it, she had stepped in this color, and it was still there on her shoe. So it was, and hugging, Lee Harvey Oswald's mistress, Judith, and being told that I reminded her of Lee, and then sitting next to the babushka lady and saying hello to Jim. I mean, it was just, I'm forever grateful to anyone who helped me get there. And so it was an amazing experience. There were also other speakers. There was incredible experts over the years that I've only seen in documentaries. They were there. I think we were like 20 odd speakers in total. There were just so many. some that had worked directly with Lyndon Johnson as a lawyer. There were also what I believe to be a former assassin, very scary individual who was on stage that I tried to avoid at all times, even though he wanted to talk to me. I was like, I don't think so. And there was Cyril Wecht, who is one of the world's leading pathologists. He's the guy who I believe came up with the term the magic bullet. He's the pathologist that are in most documentaries talking about the impossibility of the so-called magic bullet, how it was going up and down. And I met him as well. I interviewed him on my podcast, Light on Conspiracies. So it was, for me, it was amazing to meet these individuals in real life. And it's just, I feel absolutely blessed to be able to go into these dark areas. I mean, they're very dark and sinister and deadly in some area. But when you meet the people like Jim Marrs, for instance, who is just like a beaming sun, it's so much fun to be around. So brave, so knowledgeable, so wise. Amazing, amazing. And then unfortunately we lost him. He died recently. But I mean, he invited me and my sweetheart to his ranch. We never managed to go there because this was going to be this year, where he had a cannon that he used to an old from the Civil War and stuff like that. I mean, just an amazing guy. And I feel so inspired by meeting courageous people who, because the thing is, in this area, all the truth seekers, the ones that are really doing it honestly, openly, are putting themselves on the line. So many people have died. I mean, so many. So many have got their lives totally destroyed, their careers. So anyone who's really doing it, not being controlled opposition, but who are really doing, are amazing individuals. And I feel really honored to just be in their presence and be able to interact with them, and it's absolutely wonderful. For me to just go in the positions of the different shooters were just both chilling and super interesting, because I could check out the angles, the distances. It's so much smaller than you think. And the way that the whole setup was done and how they rerouted the traffic, I mean, everything is it's just, I would say it's the best conspiracy they ever pulled off, the best ambush. And it's even being used, I've heard, at schools for snipers and so on, how to carry out the perfect assassination as a school book example. There's also several photographers on Dealey Plaza that day. You can see them filming it, but you will never see the films. And these films are said to be used for education. I went to the Cabana Hotel, where it was used to be owned by Doris Day. And it was at the Cabana they met. They regrouped in the evening before some of the parties that were involved in the assassination. Now it's not a hotel anymore, but it's they turned it into a prison, penitentiary, and then now it's just abandoned. But I also went to the Lamplighter Motel, where James Files, one of the shooters at the Grassy Knoll, where he was staying, and I found the room he was staying at. Just very, very strange to be in this whole scene and feel it on your own skin. There was a shooting in Dallas, a police shooting last year, they say. And it turned out that we were at the Crowney Palace Hotel. And it turned out that the footage we have of that shooting, which is, as usual, very blurry and from a strange angle, I managed to track the angle. It was from the 9th floor of that exact hotel where the conference was. So I was able to find, okay, here is where it was filmed from. Also, they had the whole thing about that I think there was 5 police officers shot there. When you looked at it, you can see how the bullets are hitting the different pillars and stuff like that. But it's like these sparky things that they have in films, not ricochets the way you see it. So I went down, I checked, you could see exactly, there were no bullet holes. Instead, there were these round, like where you have like sticker explosives put on. So it's very interesting to see exactly, because once again, it was a shooting that went global. The whole thing, it was, oh my God, another terror attack. But when you see it, the area, it was exactly a street, very, very short, and exactly in the area of Dallas where you had the people lying in the street sleeping, the only place, as far as I know, right by the railroad, where if somebody stood up and gave testimony, nobody would listen to somebody like that, you know, homeless individuals and so. Exactly in that area where everything controlled, very easy, click, and boom, 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 action, film from there, boom. So I tell you, one of these, again, absolute zero happened, really. My conclusion of the JFK assassination is not something you can answer in like 2 minutes. But what I can say is that it was an unholy alliance between the Secret Service, the CIA, the Mafia, the military industrial complex, Lyndon Johnson, J. Edgar Hoover, FBI part of covering the whole lot. It was like a massive, massive cooperation between these dark forces, core element or rogue elements in these different organizations that was getting rid of him. Not for one reason, for multiple different reasons. This is when you look at these top assassinations, it's very often, it's not, he wasn't killed or that individual wasn't killed for one reason. It's like when there's too many interests that are being affected in a negative way, that is when they take someone out. Because it's very messy to get rid of something. But the reason why they did it in open daylight, and that is when they do it sometimes on a regular basis, is to send out a message as well. They send out a message to people in power positions everywhere saying, we can take out anyone, anywhere, at any time, so you better back up and shut off. You know, to just keep that. And this is when also where you see with these conspiracies, there's often like a second conspiracy of silence that follows. From an official point of view, you will just be met by silence. And that's not because people in power position know the details, they do not. But they know the force behind it, and they know they will be next online. So that's why they took out the top one in open daylight. They could have just dropped a pill in his coffee or something like that. Very easy, boom. Instead, public execution and boom. And after the conference, I was also asked to represent the people of Europe by Judith Verbeek asked me, and give a speech in Dealey Plaza right after the silent minute, which was just standing a few meters from where JFK died, where all of this had happened. And then with these people, it was very, very, mind-blowing for me. So once again, I'm extremely grateful to anyone who helped me get there.